Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Blacklogic. So, President Trump's recent proposals regarding the Gaza Strip. During a joint press conference with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, Trump suggested that the U.S. should take over Gaza, relocate its Palestinian residents to neighboring countries, and redevelop the area into what he envisioned as the Riviera of the Middle East, he stated. The U.S. would take over the Gaza Strip, and we would do a job with it too. We will own it. This proposal has been met with widespread criticism. Hamas officials have labeled the remarks as ridiculous and absurd, warning that such ideas could ignite further conflict in the region. The United Nations also weighed in on emphasizing that any forcibly transfer from occupied territory is prohibited under international law. Now, lately, Donald Trump has been in a lot of these open statement and comments about owning or taking over certain lands, countries, canals, etc. Now, the Panama Canal, I agree with him on that. If we built it, we made it. 30,000 people have died. The millions of dollars that went into the Panama Canal is one of the largest projects that America has ever been a part of. And of course, we foot the bill on that one as well. So I do agree that it should be the American canal. When it came to the Gulf of Mexico, I kind of bat my eye, turned my head slightly. Don't know too much about the history of the Gulf of Mexico. Now, airline pilots are stating as they're flying over parts of Mexico, but over the Gulf, they're saying now this is called the Gulf of America. But when we start talking about taking over countries and parts of countries within countries, this is now starting to look as though this is a soft invasion of owning and operating certain parts of the world. And that is something that I do not agree with. I understand as a global power as America is, we're starting to look very authoritative, very communistic in some of the colonial avenues that Donald Trump is approaching. And some of you may agree, some of you may disagree. But when we're talking about going into Palestine and rebuilding the Gaza Strip and somehow renaming this as the Riviera of the Middle East, and we will own it and we will operate it within another country. My question is, instead of taking that stance, why don't we just reach out to neighboring Islamic countries for them to donate money to rebuild the Gaza Strip? And that the Gazians and the Palestinians that live there can remove there even so quickly. I mean, you can reach out to Yemen, Jordan, Saudi Arabia, the north countries of Africa that are part of the Arab Emirates, have them to donate not only money, but resources, equipment, so they can rebuild that city a lot faster than they would if they didn't have their help. Again, I don't agree with this at all. I don't agree with this. So I think this is a bad move. I think that we should not be doing this absolutely at all. Again, we should not be in the Middle East. We have a very dark history in the Middle East when it comes to war and conflict. I don't agree. Now, in another bold move, the Trump administration is pulling almost all USAID workers from jobs. They're essentially putting them on paid leave starting this Friday. This decision effectively have halted numerous humanitarian aid and development programs across the globe. And the directive takes effect at midnight on Friday, giving those workers overseas 30 days to return home unless deemed essential. Now, Elon Musk, who has been a very prominent supporter of President Trump, has been vocal about his disdain for the USAID, calling it a criminal organization and stating it's time for it to die. He further mentioned that President Trump agrees with this assessment, leading to the agency's dismantling. I don't agree that it's a criminal organization, because what are some of the criminal acts? Now, he may be talking about fraud, waste, and abuse, and again, those reports have not come out. I believe that this is a preliminary statement. He may have information, evidence to support his claims, but nothing has been released as far as I know of yet. And we're doing the news pretty late here. I usually try to get this out to you guys before 9 a.m. on Central Standard Time nonetheless. But yeah, I haven't seen any information that regards or alludes that this is a criminal organization. They've been doing large amounts of fraud, waste, and abuse of government funds. So again, even though that's a preliminary statement, it doesn't mean that it is false. It just means that we don't have evidence to support those claims just yet. So again, stay tuned to Blacklogic. Make sure you subscribe, and I'll get that information to you as soon as I receive it. Now, we all know about El Salvador and their mega prison. I spoke about this before. They made a mega prison to house mostly MS-13, gang members, cartels, etc. Because El Salvador is a new vacation spot. If you guys are tired of Mexico, check out El Salvador. It's one of the safest countries in Central America year to date because they locked up over 80,000 gang and cartel members. That's a lot of people. 80,000 people belonging to a gang, 80,000 people belonging to a cartel. That's astronomical. Because El Salvador has offered to house violent U.S. criminals, right? Those American citizens who are deemed the most violent, and deportees of any nationality in his mega prison. Because U.S. Secretary of State, newly appointed, Marco Rubio, announced this unprecedented deal, highlighting its potential to address issues related to overcrowding in American prisons and the management of deported individuals. El Salvador's president, Bukele, has proposed housing these criminals in the mega prison his administration opened in 2023. This was initially to tame MS-13 and other powerful street gangs, while some see this as a practical solution. Others raise concerns about the human rights and conditions within El Salvador's prison system. It has been working out for a lot of the citizens there. A lot of Salvadorans have stating that they're loving it. Kids can now go to school without their parents and not being fearful of being snatched and kidnapped by gangs and cartels. So it's been very, very effective. People have now started traveling to Salvador, another central tropical American location for you guys to go. I'm pretty sure they have all the wonders. They're building up their tourism industry there in Salvador. And I want you guys to, I looked at a whole hour special before I gave you guys information. I think this was roughly 1 or 2 months ago. But I want to give you a small synopsis of this prison and the communications of Marco Rubio, the new Secretary of State, as well as the president of El Salvador.
Offer from the president of El Salvador.
He has agreed to accept for deportation any illegal alien in the United States who is a criminal from any nationality, be they MS-13 or Tren de Aragua, and house them in his jails.
President Nayib Bukele revealing more in a post on X, offering the U.S., quote, the opportunity to outsource part of its prison system in exchange for a fee. And it's not just for people who are in the U.S. illegally.
He has offered to house in his jails dangerous American criminals in custody in our country, including those of U.S. citizenship and legal residence. No country's ever made an offer of friendship such as this.
But that offer, especially to take U.S. citizens, raising major concerns.
It's a non-starter to talk about deporting U.S. citizens. It's point blank unlawful.
Unless someone has committed a crime abroad.
Execution and torture.
Rubio today acknowledging it's unclear if such an action would be legal.
Obviously, we'll have to study it on our end. There are obviously legalities involved. We have a constitution. We have all sorts of...
President Bukele's notorious mega prison, known as the Terrorism Confinement Center. Built by Bukele to house alleged members of gangs that had once helped make El Salvador one of the most dangerous countries in the world. It has become a symbol of his crackdown on crime. That crackdown has swept up 80,000 people and enjoyed public support.
Los niños hoy van a las escuelas sin sus padres, caminan seguros con la seguridad que van a regresar a sus casas y no van a ser secuestrados por los pandilleros.
That mega prison, the size of 7 football stadiums, with a capacity to hold 40,000 prisoners. Movements are tightly controlled. No mattresses are offered. Prisoners spend all but 30 minutes per day in packed cells. The State Department under President Biden called prison conditions in the country harsh and life-threatening. But President Trump tonight doubling down on his willingness to consider the offer.
It's no different than a prison system, except it would be a lot less expensive, and it would be a great deterrent. Send them to other countries. No, we'll have to find that out legally. I'm just saying, if we had the legal right to do it, I would do it in a heartbeat.
Ellison, we know there are...
Wow. Now, if you saw this prisoner, there's an hour special. I forgot what network that was essentially on, but there's many influencers that went over there. They all have given their take about this harsh prison. They don't even have mattresses. They just have like a metal plate that they sleep on. It's very, very rough conditions. As you see that they're not even wearing clothing. They're just wearing underwear. So again, for American criminals, I think that you should look at this. This ain't the sweet sneak your cell phone under. You're going to have contraband. No, 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 no. This watching that special, if I was a criminal, and I'm not, okay, I'm not. Watching that, I would change my stance. I would go out and get me a job. I don't care where everything will be legal. Everything will be legal after watching that jail. That should just be a deterrent. Even if it's a scare tactic, it scared me. Okay, it scared me. And believe me, the way they have them chained up all the time, once they come out of there, chained up from their ankles to their wrists, and they have to bend over to walk, and they always have to run everywhere they go. As you said, the uniform is just some boxers. They just have metal slates. They are stacked on each other. It's not just one or two people. And a lot of them are either part of the same gang or warring gangs. Again, some of them are being rehabilitated, but man, that's harsh. And a lot of people agree prison should be harsh. It should make you think about what you did. And if you can make it out, then you should be a changed person. Because I know whoever makes it out, CECOT, CECOT, that's the name of the prison. Let me tell you, they're going to be a changed man. They're going to be a changed person. Absolutely. I do believe it. But now, we have to think about the actions that Trump has made because it sparked a wide range of reactions. Supporters argue that these moves demonstrate decisive leadership and a commitment to national interests. The question is, he said he would do it in a heartbeat. He said that he would do it in a heartbeat. And I wonder what you guys think. Is this the right move? Should American citizens be deported or sent to foreign jails? We're almost acting like Great Britain, where we're making other countries our penal colony. Is that the way America? That's the way that America operates. Because I want you to think about a couple of things, and none of this may connect. None of this may not even make any sense. But let me point something to you guys' attention. He wants to own and operate and buy Greenland. He wants to own, operate the Panama Canal, which I agree with since we built it and we paid for it. He renamed the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America. And now he wants to own and operate and rebuild the Gaza Strip that's in the Middle East in another country of Palestine. Now we want to send American citizens to foreign jails. We want to deport them to foreign jails. I want you guys just to let that, don't make any quick reactions. Don't make any quick remarks. Just think about that and tell me your thoughts below. Tell me your comments below. Thank you guys for here joining me at Blacklogic. Please comment on this very special next segment of the broadcast, because this is very powerful as we are in Black History Month, which is American history. But I want you guys to imagine being a self-taught Black man in the 1940s, developing a groundbreaking surgical technique that will go on to save millions of children's lives, only to be denied recognition for decades. We're talking about Vivien Thomas, the brilliant surgical innovator who developed the first procedure to correct blue baby syndrome. His work laid the foundation for modern open heart surgery, yet for years, white doctors took their credit for his geniuses. Today, we give him his long overdue recognition as one of the greatest medical minds in history, because Vivien Thomas, he was born back in 1910 in New Iberia in Louisiana, and he grew up in Nashville, Tennessee from an early age. He dreamed of becoming a doctor, but racism in America had other plans. He was accepted to college, but the Great Depression wiped out his tuition savings, forcing him to take a job instead of attending medical school. In 1930, he began working as a surgical assistant at Vanderbilt University under Dr. Alfred Blalock. And don't forget, they also have a movie about Vivien Thomas. They also have a movie about Vivien Thomas And believe it or not, who starred in that movie was Mos Def. Okay, I believe he changed his name. I don't want to butcher his name, but if you look up Mos Def, you look up Vivien Thomas, you will see the movie. It was a really good movie. Now, despite having no formal medical education, Vivien Thomas quickly became Blacklogic's most trusted researcher and surgical technician, mastering complex surgical techniques through pure skill and intellect. In the 1940s, Thomas and Blaylock moved to Johns Hopkins University, where they faced medical crisis because thousands of infants were dying from the blue baby syndrome, which is a heart defect that prevented oxygen-rich blood from circulating properly. These babies had bluish skin due to the lack of oxygen, hence the name blue baby syndrome. At the time, no known surgery could save these children, but Vivien Thomas, without a medical degree, was about to change that. While Blaylock was head surgeon, it was Thomas who actually developed the technique to fix the blue baby syndrome. Thomas invented a way to reroute blood flow to the lungs, allowing oxygen to reach the baby's body. He tested and perfected the procedure in the lab, performing over 100 surgical trials on animals to ensure its success. So, on November 29th, 1944, the first ever successful heart surgery on a child with blue baby syndrome was performed at Johns Hopkins. Blaylock performed the surgery, but he relied entirely on Thomas, who stood behind him, guiding his every move. Without Thomas' instructions, Blacklogic wouldn't have been able to complete the procedure. Despite this, Thomas received no credit. Blaylock and white surgeons took all the glory. Even after developing one of the most important surgical techniques in history, Thomas was still treated like a second-class citizen at Johns Hopkins. He was paid a generous pay, despite training and instructing white doctors. His work was never acknowledged in medical journals at the time. White surgeons used his techniques to build their careers while he remained behind the scenes. It would take decades before Thomas was finally recognized for his contributions. Even though Thomas never received a medical degree, his contributions to surgery couldn't be erased forever because in 1976, Johns Hopkins finally recognized his achievements, awarding him an honorary doctorate and appointing him as a faculty member. His work became the foundation of modern pediatric cardiac surgery, saving millions of lives worldwide. Also in 2004, HBO released a film, Something the Lord Made, starring Mos Def as Thomas, bringing his story to a wider audience. So today, he is honored with statues, scholarships, and medical awards in his name. Vivien Thomas' contributions are bigger than medicine. His story is a testament to Black excellence, resilience, and innovation. He developed one of the most revolutionary heart surgeries in history. He trained generations of surgeons, changing the future of medicine. He proved that genius knows no racial barriers, only systematic ones. For years, white doctors took credit for Vivien Thomas' brilliance, but history can no longer ignore his impact. The next time you hear about the open heart surgery or pediatric cardiology, remember the Black man who made it all possible. Vivien Thomas. We honor you, sir. Thank you for your contributions, not only to America, but to the world as we know it. And thank you, Johns Hopkins. After all the years, you finally honored the man who came up with the procedure to cure the blue baby syndrome. So no babies will die, and to this regards, turn blue. Thank you guys for joining me here this morning. You guys have a great and wonderful day. This is Blacklogic.